Floating along an endless sea of sand in a world otherwise unknown to its inhabitants, we first come to learn of the mud whale. Now, there are two types of people on this ship. The marked, who can use a magical power called thymia, and the unmarked, who cannot. However, the crux of the marked is that they live much shorter lives than their counterparts, the unmarked, resulting in the unmarked filling positions of leadership upon the mud whale, such as the mayor or the council of elders, sort of like a government for the ship. And everyone outside this council of elders on the ship have no knowledge of the world outside of their own island, as they've been aimlessly a sail for as long as they can remember. And there's just something about the way they live that was so captivating for me. I mean, I guess I found instant comfort in the beautiful simplicity that this show initially offers. However, for the better or worse, change is always upon us. And before I go and recommend you this anime and say that, it's good, it's great, you should watch it, whatever, I just want to be clear about the fact that I've never really believed in one anime being better than another. I think anime is an art, and an art is a much more interpersonal experience. It's more about your connection to the content, your connection to the show, than what I experience. And the gateway to your emotions and your heart and your thoughts and stuff is always going to be different than me or other people, because we're all different and we're always changing. So it's never going to be so clear cut as to this anime is good and this anime is bad. I've watched several animes that have gotten terrible reviews, but for whatever reason they hit home for me for the time that I watched them. And I've had other shows where I start to try to watch them and I can just feel that it's not the right time for me. Like, it may still be a good show, but for me at that given time frame, the portals into my emotional universe are just not open to that kind of medium. Think of anime to be like types of keys, and not every key will unlock a portal into your world, but it may very well unlock somebody else's. So it's more so a matter of difference than better or worse. And it's just good to get rid of those terms because they usually just cause conflict anyway. Between the unfamiliar, daunting mystery of the world at large and the familiar, comforting innocence of the natives of the mud whale, I found myself pleasantly hooked. The show begins by introducing us to the life of the people aboard the mud whale, a ship set sail on a sea of sand, where the natives send their dead members to be buried and put to rest. Life on the mud whale seems pleasant and simple, but it's only a short while before a mysterious ship begins to drift within its sight. And for the current members of the mud whale, this is the first contact they've ever had with anything from the outer world. So they set out a scouting party to check it out, and on the island they find none but one lone injured survivor of apparent magical descent similar to the marked that live on the mud whale. Our main character, Chakudo, convinces his allies to bring her back to the mud whale, even though a couple of them are skeptical because, they've never really dealt with anything outside the mud whale. But they're all really nice people, so they saved her because she was injured. When they got back to the ship, the Council of Elders were not enthused about having an outsider brought to the island, which is where I found more interest in the show, because now my natural conspiracy artist is questioning if the Council of Elders is doing some corrupt Donzo shit. Because when they were questioning Likos, which is the girl they rescued, by the way, I love that name, Chakudo is spying on them and he hears,
"Is this the Falena?"
We can't answer that, and unless we know your purpose for being here, we can't reveal our identity to you either.
What does that mean? Do the elders know what Likos is talking about?
It was never my intention to be brought here in the first place.
Are there others like you on the island?
Everyone I know is dead. I buried them.
And when you did that, didn't it cause painful feelings?
I have no such thing.
She's an apathia.
A human without emotion.
Good God.
Apathia? What is that?
As I expected, the world has not yet changed at all.
There's no point in talking to her anymore. I'm sorry, but we're going to detain you.
So Lycos asked them, is this the Falina? And the elders just dodged whatever that meant. And then they uncover that she is something called an apathia, which is a human without emotions, and then they mention that the world has not yet changed. And that kind of paints the picture that the whole outside world is void of emotion and is in some type of constant war state. And the mud whale is the sole survivor still capable of emotion in the world. And that's sort of what really lured me in about this show, because there's some type of line drawn between the Mark's ability to use powers and their emotions. So the whole show has an underlying theme about emotions being uncovered. And like I mentioned before, this hit home for me because I was in a place where I was searching for more understanding of how we should process our emotions and just further understanding ourselves. So I was able to find comfort in the unraveling of this theme. And then just as all this was going through my head, the secondary main character Uni, basically the strong, cool, rebellious Sasuke type character that we all love, bursts into the meeting, steals the girl, and takes Chakuro. And in the contrast to everyone else on the mud whale, Uni believes that the mud whale is a prison of sort, and he seeks to escape, now using Chakuro and Lycos to explore the island that Lycos came from. And that's how episode 1 ends. Now, I'm not going to tell you how the whole show ends, but I will say episode 2 takes a huge turn, and all that comfort shit I was talking about, it gets thrown off the mud whale real quick. But the show already grabbed me by the nads with that first episode though, and we all know what it's like when a show already got you. You're going to stick around no matter how many times they punch you in the heartstrings. But yeah, that's it for the pre-watchers. Y'all go on now. Either go watch the show for yourself and come back after, or you can just keep watching and spoil it for yourself because you're not gonna watch this show anyway. Alright, so what'd you guys think? Did you like it? Let me know down below. I personally liked it a lot. I hope they continue it too so we can see more of the discovery of like the outside world and the interactions with the Empire and stuff. But the one theme I want to talk about today, or at least the one that reached me the most throughout the show, is called emotions versus stoicism. And that's to say the suppression of emotions versus embracing them and living with them. Stoicism can be symbolized by the Empire in this show, because as we found out, the mud whale, or Falina, was exiled and stripped of its sails due to the ancestors of the mud whale deciding to live against the beliefs of the Empire. The Empire believing that emotions are the root of evil in the world, and according to the Empire, there's a legend about how the world was destroyed by God, seemingly as punishment for letting their emotions run out of control. And we also learned about the Nous, which are the cores of the ships, providing the inhabitants with the ability of magic or thymia, and how they all do so by absorbing the people's emotions, while Falina is the only ship that allows its inhabitants to have emotions, however, it instead absorbs the lifespan of the marked. The reason I bring up this main theme, however, is because I mentioned before, I had been reading a lot of stuff on like Buddhism and other spiritual paths, and Buddhism is actually right in between both of those philosophies. It's essentially the practice of feeling and embracing your emotions, however, not being overcome by them. You know, to feel pleasure but not become addicted to it, which is what plagues many drug addicts or obese people and several other unhealthy lifestyles. So it's about a level of self-control, emotional resilience, an ability to adapt to adversity and not be at the whim of your temptations or emotions, while not being so withdrawn to the point where you lack empathy or an ability to relate and connect to those around you. You see, emotion is integral to the human experience. We can't ignore it, but we can't get lost in it either. It's what will connect us, or destroy us. It's all a matter of our relationship with it, our relationship with ourselves, and our understanding of such. Children of the Whales offered me more exploration to this philosophy, and I'm grateful for that. But what's most important about any lesson is that once you begin to understand it, it is imperative that you practice it. If you don't put forth a regular attempt to engrave your newfound philosophies into your life, they will remain forever lost in translation, because, you see, it's not enough to just understand something. You must become it to truly come to know the truth.